Vienna 1, Arsenal 2. It's 3 points, and it was probably our toughest opponents within our group stages in the Europa League. So there are some positives, but then again, let's talk about the negatives first. So some of the negatives, can't really understand what's going on in terms of our bench. Why did we have both Matt Macy and Runnison in our bench as if we're going to really need to bring on two goalkeepers? This is why I'm still quite annoyed about the whole not allocating William Saliba within the Europa League squad. Why wasn't he omitted? Because I understand there was a whole perhaps sending him out on loan, but then again, if you wasn't 100% sure that that was going to happen, then why did you take his name out of the team? That's what I don't understand. And also, we still played very boring. This pragmatic football that he plays, not enough chances created. I mean, for me, we didn't experiment enough, and I thought this was the perfect time to do that. Why are we still playing quite defensively? There's not enough emphasis on going forward, and there's not enough sort of will or drive by the midfielders to link up with the attack and create something. There was, from the outset of the game, there was a few bursts on the right hand side between sort of Cedric and Nicolas Pepe, and then for whatever reason that seemed to slowly die out throughout the first half as it progressed. Also, I didn't really feel Leno presented himself well. I understand he's got a lot of pressure, and I'm all for backing Leno, but I don't understand why we got rid of Martinez, and that's something that's still gonna bother me. Reason being is we sold Martinez for funds. I get that, right? So why didn't we sell Maitland-Niles? End of the day, Maitland-Niles was gonna go and sign for Wolves for, I believe, 20 to 25 million pounds, which was a higher fee than the amount that we sold Martinez for. So why didn't we go and opt and sell Maitland-Niles? Because it's not as if he has started for us, really. He's been a fringe player, so why didn't we not get some sort of a higher fee for a fringe player who's on a higher salary than a goalkeeper who was consistent and we heavily relied on, and he was a big factor in us winning the FA Cup and that decent run towards the end of last season. So we got rid of him essentially for about 17 million pounds up to 20 million pounds when we could have got rid of Maitland-Niles. This is what I don't understand. For me, if Maitland-Niles was here to stay and he was going to be competing with Bellerin for that right back spot, then fair enough. Even on a game like this, Mikel Arteta opted to play Cedric instead of Maitland-Niles. So what purpose does Maitland-Niles fulfill within this team, and why couldn't we have got rid of him and use those funds that I'm assuming the funds we got from Martinez was used to fund the Gabriel and Partey incoming? So why couldn't we have instead used Maitland-Niles, a fringe player, rather than a player like Martinez? And I know I might be banging on about it, but it's no coincidence that Aston Villa has the best defensive record so far this season, and they've kept 3 clean sheets out of 4 with an average team like Villa, and that's no disrespect to Aston Villa. You could imagine what he could do with Gabriel ahead of him. And to be fair, that's moving on to my next point here. It just shows that the 2 best players in today's game were the 2 new boys, and that's Thomas Partey and Gabriel. They were by far our best player in my opinion. And you sort of look at David Luiz, who's much senior to Gabriel, and the levels between the two is just humongous. Luiz is just like here, and you got Gabriel, just he's just left him. I mean, he's just very composed, very physical, and he's only 22 years old. I think Mikel Arteta did get it wrong. I'm not I'm not saying that I want him out, and I'm not going to be calling for his head to be gone tomorrow. I still want him to improve. I just want him to understand the mistakes he's making and not entrusting these young players. That's something which I'm very fearful for. Towards last season when Gabriel had that amazing he had that amazing game of streak where he came in for Aubameyang, who was suspended, and then all of a sudden, and he got was it January Player of the Month, and then he gets dropped. This is, for me, that's a massive concern, and we're looking at the whole William Saliba situation as well. Even in terms of Nicolas Pepe, he might sort of play a few decent games, and then all of a sudden, as soon as Pepe gets his form again, he will be benched, and William will play ahead of him. And Pepe is a confidence type based player, so if you sort of keep doing that to Pepe, we're never going to really see Pepe reach to his full potential here at Arsenal if we're just going to constantly play him a few games here and there and then take him off whenever Arteta feels like it, because he's had a decent game. But you know what? I fancy in this game here, Willian should play. It's going to ruin his confidence. It's going to ruin his rhythm. And likewise, I don't feel the whole treatment of William Saliba is being dealt well. We've seen Fofana, who's playing well at Leicester City, and William Saliba was ahead of Fofana. But I mean, Mikel Arteta still, I guess he's still pretty much immature in terms of as a manager. He's not even been a manager for a year, remember. So I'm still going to give him time. But I just hope he is learning from his mistakes, and I'm hoping he's not really entrusting these sort of older players who are continuously making his mistake, and maybe put more trust and faith in the youth who are going to be, you know, the future of Arsenal and who are going to take us places. At least they've got room for improvement. They've got room for development. There's no point sort of sticking with your Kolasinac, with your David Luiz. We're just not going anywhere here. But that's enough of me rumbling on. And it's a decent point. 3 points we've got. As I said, they are our toughest opponents. So maybe I'm hoping out going forward we might see more of like the likes of Emil Smith-Rowe, Reece Nelson, Runnison come in and play against the teams like Dundalk. And since we've got 3 points from Rapid Vienna, who is our toughest opponent, we can maybe experiment more with these perhaps maybe weak opposition. But let's go into my player rating, sorry. So Bernd Leno, very shaky, and for me he was our worst player. He was very nervous. Not sure what happened to him. He looked like he got his confidence back, and for whatever reason it's dipped all over again. So Bernd Leno for me gets a 4. Moving on to, I believe we played a 4-4-2, it seemed like, or sorry, a 4-3-3, and playing as the back two, Gabriel and David Luiz. Starting off with David Luiz, he looked a bit shaky at times, not as convincing, and he did make quite a few sort of silly mistakes here and there. However, he did get us the equaliser, and I'm going to give David Luiz a 6. Gabriel, for me, it's between him and Thomas Partey, man of the match, but I'm going to give it to Gabriel, and he edges it for me slightly. Just the defensive work he was doing, the amount of time he was driving with the ball, giving those sort of passes out onto the left to Sead Kolasinac or Bukayo Saka. He was excellent for me, and Gabriel for me gets an 8. Moving on to the left back spot, Kolasinac, he wasn't as bad. He wasn't amazing either. Standard Sead Kolasinac, but at least he wasn't abysmal today, and for me he gets a 5. Moving on to the right hand side, Cedric, as I said earlier on in the game, I thought he linked well with Pepe and he was very threatening. Not sure what happened as the game progressed, but he decided as if he didn't care going up, and he thought, I'm actually bothered. You know, I'm not sure whether it's due to match fitness or the confidence, or he just felt as if there was no point effort being wasted making us run because Rapid Vienna was very stubborn in their defence. I can't say for whatever reason. He just stopped going forward and supporting the attacks. Defensively, he was standard. Not the greatest, just, yeah, standard. He gets a 5 for me as well. Moving on to the 3 midfielders, central midfielders, I believe. So Mohamed Elneny, honestly speaking, I thought he had a decent game. It was his pass that opened up for the winning goal. That beautiful ball that cut through their defence to feed into Bellerin for the easy tap in pass to Aubameyang. And So Elneny gets a 7 for me. Partey, amazing debut. I thought in terms of what he could have done, he pretty much did it. I felt a bit sorry for him because at times it looked like he was doing a bit too much. You could see that we need another top class midfielder there to help him, to ease the pressure of him, and I think we need to go back in January and go for a Hassan Mawar or someone of that ilk to help out a party, because with a Thomas Partey in that midfield, I think we can really go places and we can go back and play four at the back and take some pressure off the defense as well as helping the attack. So Thomas Partey for me, he gets an 8. Bukayo Saka, he had a standard game. He at times when he linked well with Eddie Nketiah on the left hand side and drove at their defense, and when he did that, I thought he looked amazing, impressive. But other than that, he didn't try it too many times, and for me that was unfortunate. They looked quite vulnerable, but we just didn't take advantage. And Saka gets a 6 for me. Moving on to the front three, Nicolas Pepe, hit and miss at times. He looked good when he was driving through their players. You could see they looked nervous. He was causing a lot of problems. He was dribbling, and they had to unfortunately foul him a few times, and they conceded a yellow card when bringing him down because of the threat that he provided. So Nicolas Pepe for me gets a 6. The only issue with Pepe I have is sometimes he just feels a bit nervous where he might be reluctant not to take a man on and opts to pass. And for me, when you've got that speed and you've got that trickery, more times just go for it, because either they'll concede a foul and we'll get a free kick out of it, or they could potentially get a yellow card. And if they've got a man that's on a yellow card, they may be reluctant to make that tackle and we can get in. So he needs to be a bit more brave for me. Moving across, Eddie Nketiah, he didn't have the greatest of game, worked really well, linked up well with Saka a few times. He gets a 5 for me. Lacazette worked hard, but you don't want to hear that from a striker, do you? So not good enough for me in terms of a striker itself, but worked for the team. He gets a 5. Moving on to the substitution. Aubameyang made a big difference when he came on. He did get a winning goal, and you could see the smile on his face. He was more up for it, unlike the game at the weekend. So Aubameyang for me gets a 6. Actually, give him a 7 because he's got a winning goal. Hector Bellerin, he actually looked quite lively, and he looked like what we really needed to come in and change that game, and he made that impact for us, and he got the assist for the winning goal. So he gets a 7 for me as well. Moving on to the other substitutions. Kieran Tierney, not much time. So Tierney gets a standard 5 for me. I'm thinking, have I missed anyone else? Of course, Joe Willock, not on that long either, 5. Nelson, 5 as well.